Hi, and welcome to That Girl Reads. I'm that girl, Ada Reed. As you can see from the title, or if you are a returning subscriber, you've seen that the book that was chosen for this month was The Good Daughter by Karin Slaughter. Now, if you've never read any of Karin Slaughter's book, you are in for a treat. This book, The Good Daughter, is one of her standalones. Now, she does have some book series, and one is the Grant County series, and the other is the Will Trent series. And I haven't read those. I'll probably get to it later on, but I preferably am enjoying the standalone books. The other two standalone books I've read by her is Pretty Girls and Coptown. But today we are going to be reviewing The Good Daughter. So let's get into it. The Good Daughter by Karin Slaughter. The book was published in 2017. It has a total of 516 pages. And it is 19 chapters. Now, usually when I give my book review, I usually have the book in hand so you can see how thick it is. You know, we go by thickness around in these parts, but I don't have the book. I actually had it on Kindle. I bought it years ago, and so I just read it off my Kindle. So I'm sorry I don't have the physical book, but it does have 516 pages and it has 19 chapters. So you probably can get a good idea of maybe how thick or, big the book is. The genre that I would probably say that this book is definitely a thriller, suspense, crime drama, definitely. A majority of Karin Slaughter books is dealing with some type of crime, and things like that. So yeah, this is the brief detail about The Good Daughter. So I'm going to go with the characters first before I give you what the synopsis is. So it'll kind of make more sense of what the story is about. So firstly, the characters that we have Charlie Quinn. She is the youngest out of the sisters. She is a kind of juvenile lawyer who deals with people who probably missed out on court dates, tickets, misdemeanors, those type of things. She's the one that come around knocking your door, telling you, hey, this is what's going to happen. You need to get all this stuff filled out or you're going to end up going back to jail if, you don't come to court type of situation. Next, we have Samantha Quinn, which is Charlie's older sister, and she lives in New York, and she is also a lawyer, but she's a lawyer for companies dealing with big tech, I guess you could say, type companies, dealing with the financial situations and things like that. And then we have Rusty Quinn. Rusty Quinn is Sam and Charlie's father. He is a lawyer. Now, he is a criminal lawyer, and he mostly of the time, he usually only represents criminals. Yes, he represents only criminals. He believes that criminals should have a chance to state that they're innocent. So he really takes the innocent until proven guilty to heart. And he is a great lawyer. He usually gets all his criminals off, whether they actually did it or not. So that's Rusty Quinn. Next we have Ben, which is Charlie's husband, and he actually works for the district attorney's office. So as you can see, everybody's dealing with in law and legal stuff and things like that. And then we have Kelly Wilson. Kelly Wilson is a 17-year-old teenager. When I explain later on, she's going to be one of the criminals. She did something, and Rusty Quinn is going to he's going to decide to take on her case. because he believes that she is actually innocent of her crime. And things like that. So yes, we have Kelly Wilson. And then we have our supporting cast, which is Lenore. Lenore is Rusty's assistant. She's been with him for probably over maybe 30 years. And she's a great assistant. And she's also been great friends with Samantha and Charlie as when they were kids. And then we have Mason Huckabee, who is, I think he's an English teacher or he's a history teacher or something. He's a teacher. He's a teacher at the school that there's going to be an incident and things like that. So those are our main and supporting characters. Oh, and one more, Judith Pinkman. She is going to be a wife to one of the victims in the story, and she is also a teacher. So we have a lot of legal people and we have teachers, so you probably can kind of get the foundation of what this story is going to be about. So those are our main and our supporting characters. I wanted to give a quick warning, so I would put a warning probably flashed across my face, a trigger warning. When it comes to Karin Slaughter, she a lot of her books are very graphic and very hardcore with abuse and with child abuse, with very hardcore detailed crimes. So if any of this is triggering to you, and I will be stating some of the things that are happening, I won't go into detail, but I would bring up certain words. So if those things are triggering to you, you can just go fast forward ahead, because I put timestamps. So if you just want to skip ahead and just see the final review, then you can just do that. Definitely, if this is if anything I say or bring up is triggering to you. So I wanted to forewarn you about this. Now let's go and talk about the book. So the book is about Charlie, which I explained is the younger sister to Samantha. One day she is at the school. She is visiting Mason Huckabee, and they hear gunshots at the school. So Charlie and Mason go running, and while they're running toward, yes, they are running toward the gunshots, they see that one of the teachers, a male teacher, is dead. He is not alive. He is dead in the most graphic way. And also a little girl has been shot, and she's currently still alive at that moment. And while all that is going on, they come to realize that it was a 17-year-old student from the high school who came to the middle school and started shooting, and they realize that she is the shooter because she's holding the gun in her hand, and her name is Kelly Wilson. Sadly, the little girl dies in the story, and so that's pretty much what starts off the whole entire case. It starts off the case in the book of why all these characters are going to come together and everything else like that. So we have a shooting at a school, 2 people dead, a little child. We have and a older man have been shot dead, and Kelly Wilson is the prime suspect. There's other things that go down at the school, but that's the gist of it. With this book as well, that is the main foundation of the book, I probably would say. But there also is a backstory to Charlie and Samantha about something that happened to them when they were little girls as well. Something very tragic happened to them when they were kids, where you come to find out what happened to their mother. Because you see that I did not mention their mother as anywhere near the main or the supporting character. So you're going to find out what happened to their mother when they were teenagers. And it kind of leads into the strain between the 2 sisters and what's going on with them. But this case specifically is what ends up bringing both of them together. Charlie, where this location takes place, it takes place somewhere in Georgia. They said up in the mountains area. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly where. And Samantha, like I said, she lives in New York. So she comes down to visit because there's another incident that happens that is more personal to them. Yeah, like a family issue. And so Samantha comes down to be with her sister and her sister's husband. And so that's when they kind of get into the case about everything else. So that's the synopsis, just a brief foundation of the book. Like I said, I'm not going to try to be in too much detail because it's really graphic, but I'm going to talk more about, I say, the feelings of the character and just what the book is, the feeling of the book most. All right, so let's get into our Rose and Thorn. For anybody who is new, rose means pros, things that are good, and thorns means the cons, prickly. So let's get into our Rose and Thorn. So let's start off with our Rose. Something that Karin Slaughter did well in this, I figured that she did really well in this book, is character development. When you read a Karin Slaughter book, her character development is off the charts, honey. Her character development is off the charts. You are going to know everything. And when I mean everything, I mean everything. If you like details, if you like imagery, you're going to love Karin Slaughter. You are going to know if they have a birthmark. You're going to know what they ate the day before. You're going to know what they ate, what they're planning on eating tomorrow. You're going to know how they feel, what they feel. You even probably even know what they smell, because sometimes they even bring it up, how they are smelling, and things like that. In the book, you're going to know how they felt yesterday, how they feel today, how they feel tomorrow. You're going to know the whole scenery of the town. You're going to know their whole entire house. You're going to know their jobs. You're going to know the outline of their car. You're going to know every single inch about the characters, about the town, about everybody that she wants you to know about. You are going to know. So her character development is excellent, very excellent. There will be nothing left unturned. You're gonna know everything. Something else that Karin Slaughter does very well is with her standalone books, which is why I like to read them. Majority of the time, I like that she kind of let the civilians, in a way, be detectives. I kind of like that. I think because a lot of us, because we watch the true crime movies and documentaries, or we listen to the true crime podcasts and TV shows and things like that. Sometimes we want to be invested and we think we can solve the crime. So she creates these characters to try to solve the crime. And you will read that in her standalone books. Now, I can't specifically say about her other books, the series that she has, but her standalones are usually female based. The main people are female based, whether they are the heroes, or they're the villains. Her main focus on is female, mostly female cast, or female who is going to be like the main characters in the thing. And majority of the time they're sisters. So like in Pretty Girls, there are two sisters. But in Coptown, I don't think there was a sister at all. But it still was a female. So with this, she is completely great at having civilians, in a way, be detectives, trying to solve any type of case, whether it's something personal with them that happened to them a long time ago, or a current situation that is, bothering them. So I really like that because it makes it fun. It really does. It makes it fun. That's what I would say is kind of the fictional part of her books, is how she makes the civilians detectives, and putting the clues together and trying to solve the case. Another pro by Karin, like I mentioned before, she leaves nothing unturned. If she brings up something into the book, you are going to find out by the end of the book. And it's the truth. It's just like you're going to find out everything. It's like if she threw stones into the yard and she threw all these stones and everything else, she is going to pick up each stone one by one, and she is going to give in detail what this stone is, why it's here, why she placed it here. That is exactly what she does with all her books. She goes into grave details, and there are no plot holes. As far as I read, like I said, now I've read 3 of her books, but I haven't found any plot holes whatsoever. If she brings something up, she is going to bring it up again, either in the middle or at the end of the book. And so that you will definitely have an answer to any question or something that she brought up. You're not going to necessarily be assuming anything. She is going to bring it up, which is fantastic. And she does this in the book as well, when it comes to Sam and her sister and their father and things like that. Anything that happened to them in the past, she brings it up later on in the middle or at the end of the story. So you're delving and you're getting a little bit more of what's happening with them, and maybe this is the reason why their life has turned out this way and why their personality is the way that it is. So that's the rose, that is the prose to the book. Yes, I think I'm talking more about Karin Slaughter writing style. And for the book, I guess I'm trying to be a little bit, I don't want to give any spoilers or anything like that either, because I feel like I just don't want to give anything away if you decide to read this. I'm trying not to lead into something, because like I said, it is a thriller and it's kind of a mystery where is it possible that Kelly Wilson is the killer? I mean, everything that you can see, she had the gun in her hand. She was standing in the hallway. There was also footage of her, but there was a blind spot. So that's what I'm saying. Yeah. Let's get into the con. Or the thorn. So, like I mentioned, she leaves nothing unturned. She goes into great detail, but that is also her downfall. In my opinion, that is also her downfall, because picture it like this. This is how I put it. Think of an artist, they're painting this beautiful picture and they go into great detail. You see the different tones, you see when the light hits the shadowing, the light hits it, the textures, the coloring, the shading, the perspective, everything about this picture is great. And the detail is awesome. But then you realize the artist is adding more and more detail that is starting to look a little cluttered. And so that's what happens with Karin Slaughter in The Good Daughter. And in most of her books as well. Sometimes she goes overboard with detail that it can get repetitive and you're just kind of like, okay, I get it. For example, there's with Charlie, with her personality, she's like very spunky and she's a fireball. She's a little bit younger than her sister, and she's just a kick-ass person. And so she goes into details about everything from her husband, how her husband feels, to how he smells, to about in her father's office, like the smell of the cigarette butts and what it reminds her of, and how it reminds her of her mother. And then it jumps into about maybe something else that leads into why it smells this way, and this can cause this. So like, I get it and I understand, like, sometimes we do that as humans, but in a way it's a little bit too much detail. And I think that's when she needs to hold it back a little bit. Give us details, but don't go overboard. Don't overcrowd the picture. Make it where it's simple, where we get the point. And most of the time we're going to get it because her details are spot on. But kind of hold back on that a little bit more and things. But that's one of her, it's like her, how do you say, it's like her plus and minus. It's like it's something good, but it's also her downfall as well, because she tends to go overboard with details. Another con or thorn that I have when Karin Slaughter does her books, especially with The Good Daughter. It's the placement of story of the time frame of the story. What I mean by, like I have mentioned, that Sam and Charlie, there was something very tragic that happened to them when they were teenagers, and very horrific, graphic, that, you know, like I said, I will not be mentioning because I don't want to trigger anybody, but something very horrible happened. And throughout, so when you first start the book, the thing that starts off the book is literally about what happens to Samantha and her sister and her mother on that day when they were teenagers, and what happens. And so you get a basic foundation of the backstory to what happened to them when they were younger, over 30 years ago. And then throughout the book, they start opening up and delving more into the backstory. So with The Good Daughter, it's a lot of back and forth between the current case of Kelly Wilson shooting two people and trying to handle that case and see if she really is the shooter or if something else is at play, and as well as them trying to heal themselves of the past trauma of what they went through as teenagers. And so during that time, Karin Slaughter, she throws in the past with the present, which is fine, but it's when she throws it in and if it's really necessary. At some moments, like when we finally get to Samantha, because Samantha really, the present day Samantha really doesn't enter into the book until chapter 6. So where you find out what her life is like, what she does at her job, you know, all that stuff like that about, you know, everything about her life currently as an adult. Then we delve into more information and stuff about what happened to her on the day, that tragic day as a teenager. And also later on in the book, when a special or a certain character in the book ends up dying, a personal family member or something like that ends up dying, Charlie brings out another truth about what really happened to her as a teenager, which is horrific and graphic as it can get. So, and I was just wondering, like, when I was reading it, I know it was also like a shock factor because like I said, if I had pearls, I was clutching my pearls, clutch your pearls. But yeah, it's the shock factor on that, because reading it, I was just like, oh, you know, yeah, what happened to her was horrible, but you know, she was fine. You know, she just dealt with what happened to Samantha and also stuff like that. But you found out something happened to Charlie as well that we thought, oh, that didn't happen to her, and you kind of find out it did, which is possibly the reason why her life is the way it is and her marriage is kind of on the rocks, because of her personal anger and build up toward what happened to her back then. But her placement of time frame in this book threw me off a little bit, and I kind of understood, but I don't know if it was necessary. I don't know, maybe I kind of felt like, just tell me the real up front, get it on out of the way, or don't, just save it until the middle section, like start it off with the school shooting, because it doesn't start off with the school shooting. It actually starts off with what happened to them when they were teenagers, and then it goes into the school shooting. So I feel like maybe she should just start off with the school shooting, things like that, and then how she feel, and then have Charlie like thinking about, you know, people bringing up, you know, oh, I know this is hard for you because what happened to you as a teenager, and then you're like, oh, what happened type of thing, like, what are they talking about? And then she kind of delves into the real story from both of their perspectives when they got together in the middle of the book, like right when like I said, one of their family members is, so someone's going to die that's in their family. And so, in that moment, maybe all those truths come out, and then we get to find out the whole full story, as well as we get to find out everything instead of the back and forth. We just find out the whole story in the middle during their most vulnerable and most grieving part of, like, another grieving part of their life, as an adult, I should say. I personally think that's maybe how Karin Slaughter probably should have did it. But, I'm not the author. She's a writer. She does it how she wants to. But that's what I personally thought. Maybe put it in the middle so that we get the whole entire gist. Focus on the present case. And then when we get to that point where both Charlie and Samantha are at that breaking point, because it feels like everything is falling apart around them, as well as their relationship as sisters have fallen apart. This is their way of bringing out the truth and just laying everything out on the forefront so they can start to heal. Now, that's personally how I felt like it could have been done, but it's not that way. So throughout the whole book, Karin Slaughter will be going back and forth, back and forth, back and forth the whole entire time. So like I said, if you have a problem with that, this might not be the book for you. But if you love backstories, because I told you Karin Slaughter is great with details, trust me, you will not be disappointed whatsoever. So yeah, that is my my thorn, or con as you may call it, for The Good Daughter. So for my final review, or what I should say, my bookmark review, yes, going to my bookmark review, I will give this book a bookmark of Axofolie. Yes, Axofolie. Yes, I'm giving this an Axofolie, which is like a 4. This is a 4 stars. Yes, I do like Netflix rating. Don't judge me. But yes, I'm giving it a Axofolie, which is a 4-star rating. This book was really good. After I finished reading this book, I absolutely enjoyed it. Now, I know I didn't go into grave details about this book because I really want you to read this book. These two sisters went through hell. I'm gonna just go and lay it out on that. They went through utter hell. They, from the tragicness of what happened to them as kids, and like I said, it deals with child abuse in a way, not by their father, but by someone else. And I'm saying child abuse or child rape. It goes into that. Just forewarn. It's very graphic. It goes into grave detail. So if that's a little bit too violent for you, then this might not be the book for you. But if you are okay with that type of subject and things, then you are good to go. But bypassing all of that, it is a great story. Every character is there for a reason. They have a purpose. Every character is laid out perfectly, from their father, Rusty, who is spunky, and he's been doing this over 30 years, and what things that he had to go through in his life and what happened to his daughters, and trying to defend this 17-year-old girl because he believes that she's innocent. He called her his unicorn, and things like that. To Ben, who is Charlie's husband, who is fighting between, like his job as well as his marriage, because he is trying to understand his wife, who has all this anger and just, I don't know, she has a lot of anger and uncertainty about her. And it also stems from her past as well as her present. Samantha, you found out, what happens to her and how she has grown and through her growth, and she's pushing through that, and she has loved and lost throughout her life as an adult, and now she's trying to pretty much make amends with her sister as well. So this book delves into a lot of drama and emotions and healing and growth and forgetting about the past and focusing on the present that leads into the future, and how are they going to go through that process of going into the future, with all the stuff that has happened to them throughout their entire life. It's a great book. It keeps you on your toes. And another thing about this, another reason why I really recommend this book, it's fast. Like, it's a quick paced book. It does not drag on. Now, I mentioned about Karin Slaughter going overboard on details. I get that. I understand that. Yes, she does go in details. I can get a little repetitive, but just kind of just scroll through it. But otherwise than that, this book is very quick. There's like pretty much really not that much time to rest. Everything happens within like a 3-day period. If I'm not mistaken, everything happens within a 3-day period. It's like the shooting happens, and then Charlie has to be there, and she sees all this stuff, and then with her father, and then Samantha literally comes in like the following day or whatever. She comes in the next day, and then like they're having court for Kelly Wilson, and then they are try to solve this case. They're finding out more information about the current case, as well as they find out information about what happened to them later on. And then like they have a funeral, and then they go searching through their old home, and all of these truths come out in the course of about 3 days. If I'm not mistaken, it's like 3 or 4 days, no more than that. So this is a fast-paced book. A lot of the books I have read, it takes months. It's like a course of so many months. This one is literally like 3-4 days tops. Like that's how the setting is. It's like a course of just 3-4 days, and then it's like bam, everything is revealed in those 3-4 days. So that is what makes this so great. So I guess that could be a pro, but that's why I would highly recommend this book, because once you start reading it, yes, it's 19 chapters. It'll probably take you a few days to read, or if you have the time, you can knock it out, but it'll take you maybe a few days to read. But the point is, it's a fast-paced book. So it just starts off. Everything is fast-paced. There are moments, like I said, with the details that drag it out a little bit, but the actual stories itself, like getting into it, it's quick. It's like bam, bam, bam. This happened. This happened. This happened. This happened. You just want to know, okay, what's happening next? And when you look at the schedule, look at the timeline, you're like, wait a minute, it's only been 2 days. Because they mention it too, like Samantha specifically, she mentions like, yeah, I just came in yesterday, and now I'm in court, and now we're dealing with this and this and this. So yeah, it's a quick paced book. So if I love quick paced books, but it's at a good pace where it's a steady pace. You get everything you need. You're going to find out everything. Nothing is necessarily rushed, I would say. I personally like the ending. Some people might not like the ending of the book. I personally like the ending because it has a good ending. I guess I'll give you that. I won't give you any more information about it, but I will tell you it has a really good ending. It has a what's the word I'm looking for? It's a satisfying ending. It satisfies everyone needs. That's what I would say. Everything is in its place, how it should be, and it's a satisfying ending. And I don't necessarily think that it was rushed. Some people might read the book and figure out at the end what is happening. But remember, like I said, you're going to have 2 cases going on. You're going to have the current case with Kelly Wilson, the school shooter, and then you're going to have the case that happened to them when they were younger. So you're going to have those 2 literally simultaneously coming up all together, all these old feelings as new feelings coming up to the surface. So it's a really great book, which is why I gave it a Axel Foley. Beverly Hills Cop. So I would highly recommend you read The Good Daughter. Now, I will also recommend that you read Pretty Girls. That was the first book standalone book, or really the first book I ever read by Karin Slaughter, was Pretty Girls. I would really, really recommend you read Pretty Girls. If you can get through Pretty Girls, you can definitely get through The Good Daughter. So usually, if for anybody who is returning, if you're returning, you know, I mostly do a spin wheel where I let the spin wheel choose what book I'm going to be reading for each month. Well, this time I'm not going to do a spin wheel. There will be no spin wheel this month. I will pick that back up in November. But for October, because we're getting to fall season and Halloween, I decided that I am going to be doing and reading the Books of Blood by Clive Barker. Yes. And I will be reading all volumes 1 through 6. That is right. Volumes 1 through 6. So what I'll do is I'll be posting a video for 6 days, because there's 6 volumes. So I'll be posting a video for 6 days straight where I will be going over each story for each volume and tell you which one is my favorite and which one that I kind of didn't care about. So yes, I will be reading the Books of Blood by Clive Barker. Yes, so that's what I'll be reading. So if you have those books, read with me. If you don't have those books, you can try to find them and read them, or you can wait till my review. And yeah, that's it. So that will be the book for next month. And I'll repeat it again. It is The Books of Blood by Clive Barker. Yes. Volumes 1 through 6. So we're going to be getting into all the volumes. So that should be really, really fun. So thank you again for joining me. If you're new here, welcome and thank you. And if you're returning, mwah, love ya. Thank you for joining me as well. So yes, go buy and get The Good Daughter by Karin Slaughter and try out Pretty Girls as well. I love Pretty Girls. That would be my favorite. So try out Pretty Girls by Karin Slaughter as well. So I will see you next month for Halloween time. Yes. For Halloween time. I will see you next month. So ta-ta for now. Ta-ta. It's not that I don't want you here. It's something about the way you stare into my eyes. I know that I don't